Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another event from the Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Trade Association. Today's event is completely different. It's all about looking into the future. Most of us have been struggling with the pandemic. Let's be honest, things have not been very good for us. And we've always had this negative feeling, what's going to happen. So is our industry, the air conditioning and refrigeration and ventilation industry, will it grow? At least is the tomorrow better for us? And that's when we decided to actually study a document released by the Govt of India called as the India Cooling Action Plan. That's the document which is there, India Cooling Action Plan. You can download it in the internet, from the internet itself. During the event, I will share the link in the chat. You can just search it and you can also download it. Now, the challenge is it's a superb document which is about close to 106 pages. Now, it's been around for quite some time, but not many people have actually had the patience to read it or even understand it. So we said, what better than actually bringing in a person who understands it right from the inside? So today, to understand the India Cooling Action Plan, we have a renowned personality from our industry, a veteran from our industry, Mr. Jitendra Bhambur. Thank you, Mr. Bhambur, for joining us. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. To introduce to you who Mr. Jitendra Bhambur is, well, he really doesn't need an introduction for people who've been in the industry, but for people who are joining us for the first time, Mr. Bhambur is presently working as an advisor technology in Blue Star. He graduated in engineering in 1979 from Mumbai University and has a diploma in management studies from Mumbai University in 1983. He joined Blue Star in 1992 and worked in various operations before taking charge of R&D in 2000, before which he worked in Rallis India for about 13 years, again in R&D. He was the executive committee member at RAMA, that's a Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Manufacturers Association, and he's been the chairperson of the ODS committee, that is the Ozone Depleting Substances Committee. He interacts with BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ozone Cell, and BIS, the Bureau of Indian Standards. Lead member of ICAP Space Cooling Thematic Group, UNEP member, TAP, that is Technology and Economic Assessment Panel, and Refrigerants Technology Options Committee, and international expert panel formed by Ozone Secretariat. He is the founder president of ISHRE Thane subchapter, and he was the ISHRE technical chair, and he is presently the chair of the technical group. Trained in the US, London Business School, IIM Ahmedabad, and in Tel Aviv University. You can't get a better person to explain this than Mr. Bhambur. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhambur. Pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So when we were discussing how to do this, so we're going to have this as an open-hearted discussion. We have got a lot of members who are already joined us. And if you have questions during the event, please go ahead and just put it into the comment section and we will add it. And we will go through the document in detail, all right? Through the entire document in detail, addressing the various kinds of fields of air conditioning, refrigeration, and ventilation. So no PPTs, no presentation, straight out of the heart. I hope this event would actually give you a lot of knowledge in what's going to happen in India in the field of HVACnR over the next 20 years. So Amrit sir, just to get in straight, who actually drafted this document?
So it is not a single person who drafted the document. It was, in 2016 when the Kigali agreement was done, India played a big role in putting forward various issues faced by the developing countries. And when the team came back, Ozone Cell it was actually a brainchild of Mr. Dr. R.S. Agarwal, who has been working, who was earlier in IIT Delhi, and then he is now helping Ozone Secretariat for so many, a renowned personality. It was his brainchild, and it put it forward, and then Ozone Secretariat took it ahead. Having said so, we'll come to know as we go through the document that this is a very complex document because cooling requirements are there everywhere. So the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change took the lead position, and then there were experts, there were industry associations, there were NGOs, and various government, other what you call as ministries and statutory bodies like BIS and BE, who all came together and took up this task of drafting the document.
So, Bhambur sir, why was it important to have a document like this? I mean, of all the things, a Government of India document on cooling, on HVACnR, why did the government think it was important to have this?
See, we have to look into it through a multiple angles. We all know that the penetration in India is very, very low. India is a tropical country. We have got aspirations to become a developed country. There is a food security related issues, as well as there is a commitment of India. It is a voluntary commitment by India in the Paris Agreement that they will take steps to reduce the impact of environment. So this is on one side. The second side is we are already signatory to the Montreal Protocol, wherein we are agreed to work on the various greenhouse gases which are going to impact not the ozone hole or ozone layer, but the global warming which is likely to happen. And greenhouse gases are, all the refrigerant that we use, the synthetic refrigerants are greenhouse gases. So there was required of harmony to be brought in between the energy efficiency and the refrigerant. Plus, we wanted to bring everything on one platform. Otherwise, air conditioning as a cooling, refrigeration, MAC, which is vehicle air conditioning, service requirement, and the biggest is if we are to look into the future, then India should be self-sufficient in terms of its technology development in both refrigerants and the components. So if we look at a very holistic, have a holistic approach, then we require. Plus, what is needed for India will be best known to the Indian industry and Indian the policymakers within India. It is not a copy paste. So then it was felt that it will be required to develop it.
Nice. And you were saying we were the first country, and then many other countries have followed suit.
Correct. So we are the first country to do it, followed by us, to the best of my understanding, is China. And now I understand about 26 to 28 countries have done it. I have been attending various meetings in the Montreal Protocol with the college Ministry of Parties. And frankly, many people came to us. Of course, I was a part of the delegation of ozone cell under Ministry of Environment. And they used to ask us, how could you manage this? How did you break the barriers between the various government bodies? How could you get such a vast pool of people and experts on one platform? And they wanted to learn from us, understand from us. So India definitely has taken a lead position in this.
Amazing. So let's get deeper into the document. The first question that comes in, where are the cooling demands expected to grow? Just as a generic one, just cooling as a subject, where does it expected to grow?
So we should also understand here that the per capita energy consumption of India is somewhere around 69 kilowatts, which is 1/4 of that of a world average. And maybe, like if I just look at I'll be referring to some of the figures in between in the book. So I can show the book. So this is the book which is there, or the published plan. So if you look at the electricity demand which is there today, is India is 69 kilowatt per hour. This is 2018 figure, which has been published by the world some of the world studies. While European Union is 297, which is about 4 times. Japan is 800, which is, you can take it more than 10 times. And United States is 1878. So 69 to 1878. So you can understand the impact of the energy consumption for space cooling. It is not a general air conditioning electricity consumption, but for space cooling. So, and the penetration is somewhere around 5%, 6%, 7% of room air conditioners. It also said that about 50 to 70% of the buildings are yet to be built. And looking at this, it was important to that the demand is going to grow, and not only in space cooling but also on refrigeration. Now, space cooling, if you look into it, the biggest demand continues as of today still by room air conditioners, followed by chillers and VRFs and ducted system, which are, we can say, commercial space cooling. Space cooling, we should say, we are all saying that space cooling is by air conditioner, but we should also know that with the typical dry climate that India has got, a lot of space cooling is achieved through air coolers, and the biggest, all of us use right from a smallest village to the cities, mega cities. We all use fans, and they are also can be considered as giving some comfort and to a limited achievement in space cooling. So room air conditioning is the biggest today.
Yeah. So in space cooling, sorry, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
The study shows that it will continue to remain so after 20 years also.
That's right. And that's the beauty about the whole document. It's got a 2-decade vision, clearly actually spelled out.
Yeah,
so in the space cooling itself, where you're talking about the room air or the air conditioning, where does the maximum growth seems to be coming, or what kind of air conditioning products are expected to grow?
So the if you roughly take the tonnage, or as a reference point, about 75% of the space cooling is coming from air conditioners today, and it is going to continue and increase and likely to go up to 80%. So that growth is going to happen in the air conditioners itself. In the document, CAGR of in a short term of 5 years, a CAGR you can say is considered average of 11%, but if there is a low demand, it is 9, and high demand is 13, and then it is dropped down by another 2% in a long term for next 10 years or so. So that is what is researched. Now, you will like to understand, and many people like to understand, how this demand has been worked out. So there are multiple inputs taken, and it was also taken from what is the demand going for the households. What is the demand going to come from shifting to more and more what you call as pakka houses? One. Second is the GDP growth. The third is income growth, surplus income, and availability of technology. With growth, the price is likely to come down. After considering all these factors, it was we arrived at these numbers.
Awesome. So there was also some little talk. Okay, before we get into that detailed space cooling, let's also understand there are various sectors. So our viewers also have a clear idea of actually which are the sectors which are being highlighted in the document. So which are the kind of sectors that is primarily highlighted in the document itself? Like you have space cooling, something like to do with refrigeration. Which are the what are the kind of sectors that you
think? The main sectors that are considered, as I said earlier, it is a holistic approach was taken. So space cooling is one. The second one is the cold chain. The third one is MAC, which is vehicle air conditioning, which includes the bus air conditioning and vehicle air conditioning. Then it is the servicing sector, which is, I think, RATA. It is dear to RATA, and all the members will be wanting to understand how much it is, what is in it. Then production of refrigerants, that is, just to tell, R410A, R32, R22. So manufacturing of the refrigerant itself, and then there is a research and development. So these are the broad topics which are covered in the ICAP, or India Cooling Action Plan.
So why does the ICAP talk about actually reducing the demand? Why do they say that? We are all excited about the demand increasing, but somehow they say that we need to have a strategy for actually constraining this demand or reducing? Why do they say that?
So
What is the need?
I think that reducing the demand is not reducing the cooling. It is it means that reducing the heat load. Actually, that is the correct technical nomenclature which should be understood. So if you have got a 150 square feet room, which is today catered by say 1.5 ton room AC, I'm just putting it as thing. How do we reduce it to by about 25 to 30%? So the heat load can be catered through say 1 ton or 1.1 ton air conditioning. That is what is meant by reducing the demand, and it is not reducing the demand by artificially constraining so that people don't buy. Like increasing duties or make it costlier. No, it is not like that. The reducing the demand is reducing the heat load.
Yeah. So it's actually going, staying comfortable at 24 degrees, not trying to bring it down, also doing the right insulation, avoiding the heat, and then cooling only the residual heat. That's what it actually means.
Slightly bigger than this, all of us will be aware of ECBC, which is Energy Conservation Building Code, which is for commercial building. Bureau of Energy Efficiency has come up with ECBCR, which is Energy Conservation Building Code for residential buildings. And that will be a guideline for many upcoming residential complexes under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and economically weaker sections. When they will construct the new houses, they are expected to use the guidelines which are there in that.
Okay. Now, Bhambur sir, I was actually listening to an international webinar, and I was listening to somebody else, and he was clearly saying that, he was taking an example of Singapore, and they were saying that, listen, cooling was a lot of importance that was given out there because there was a tropical country, and they actually stood focus on it, and that has played a very big role in the development of the country. So is cooling a development need for our country too?
Definitely, there are various factors which is there. The primary factor is health and well-being. We all know that we are highly productive. We can imagine whether you're, just to give an example, being sitting in Delhi or Chennai or Mumbai, and if you're traveling, say a distance of say 20-25 kilometers to reach our office, and imagine that we are traveling in a non-air conditioning car. By the time we are reaching there, we are already, mentally fatigued off. The same thing happens when you're working in offices. We feel good when we are going to showrooms which are air conditioning. And the biggest thing, in sultry, hot climates, various types which is there in India, when you are at home, specifically the night sleep, how good sleep we get. So it is related to health. It is related to growth of the productivity of people on one side. Second is the growth. Tourism industry. If India wants to become a tourism attraction, you can't avoid without comfort cooling. So this is on one part. The second part is, of course, we'll discuss in more details when we go to the refrigeration section. I'm sure you'll have some multiple questions, at me. The food security is a big thing, which is related to the cooling and refrigeration or space cooling. You can consider, if we enlarge space cooling for refrigeration also, food security is the biggest thing.
All right. So, this is something that we are always been reaching out to the government at Rata, and we tell them, that listen, cooling is a development need of the country. It's all about productivity, but somehow they think it's still luxury, which is why they've still kept it at 28% GST. And unfortunately, we have not been able to convince them that it's high time they actually relooked at it. And that would only help this whole industry and this whole developmental process. So, just to move ahead.
I'm sure it will happen, Ajit. They understand, but there are compulsions.
That's the problem, but that is the challenge. Okay. Right. So what are the international commitments India has towards HFC phase down, and why is it relevant in the cooling action plan? I mean,
So,
it comes in the whole
to you,
development of.
just to explain to you that I'll try to go slightly in history. These chemicals somewhere were developed in 1928 as good cleaning agents, and then we found they were good refrigerants. Till the scientists found somewhere in 78 they caused problems. And in 1992-93, around that, the Montreal Protocol was signed with the chlorine item is a problem in it. Okay, I'm becoming slightly technical, but it is tried to explain in as simple as words, as simple English as possible. So chlorine became a problem. So more the molecules of chlorine, like carbon tetrachloride or CFCs, they were phased out first. Then came to HCFCs, which is like R22, R141B. Still, they have chlorine as a problem, and this is all related to ozone depletion substances and the ozone hole, which can cause multiple issues. When we got rid of chlorine as an atom, we got into hydrofluorocarbons, which is HFCs in a short form. But what happened with this is with increased use of HFCs, these have got a high global warming potential. So when the world shifted from R22 to 410A, the GWP, global warming potential, from 1750 went to 2100. In case of refrigeration, R22 again was 1750, went to 404A, which is 4000. Now, what is this, say, R410A 2100 means? That means 1 kg of a refrigerant has got potential 2100 times that of a 1 kg of carbon dioxide, and that is the mathematics. So it was found that the focus shifted from ozone cell to global warming, and we know the impacts of global warming. We are committed to 2 degrees centigrade by end of century, and possibly aim at 1.5 degrees centigrade. That is there, and these refrigerants become a more controllable and what we call a low-hanging fruit. And there was a framework available under Montreal Protocol, which is extremely successful. We know Kyoto Protocol was they were trying to bring in for global warming or greenhouse gases and greenhouse substances, but what they say it was like a stillborn baby. It never existed. While Montreal Protocol, so they said that let us get this part also in it and work on it, and that is how the phase down of it is not phase out, it is phase down of HFCs to be there. So why did India choose a different route? It was specifically because we didn't want to get into every 10 years a new refrigerant coming which has got new problems. So India said, along with multiple other countries, including Middle East and in a few countries in Southeast Asia, that we will let it get proven, let it get stabilized, let us understand there are no other effects, and then India will start implementing. So that is the reason what India got committed, but in a different way.
Okay. So that HFC, and from a HFC perspective, this I really want you to highlight on this, because you also said the servicing sector, RATA has actually, we've got a lot of our members who are into the servicing sector also. So what is the impact of the servicing sector only for this HFC? Because gases are released during services or maintenance. Just because we have a lot of our viewers here, I just want you to highlight on that as to what is the environmental impact that you do out of your doing business.
I would put it this way: if you go to say Australia, Europe, or even US, unless he's a qualified service technician, he's not allowed to touch the unit. See, I may be like, if I worked in Blue Star and I know the job, but because I don't have a license, I can't touch my home air conditioner also. That is the rigor with which it is implemented. Now, why it is implemented, there are multiple aspects. We should understand that in a lifespan, two things happen. One is the refrigerant can get leaked, The second one is a large quantum of global warming indirectly happens because of the energy consumed. And that is where the multiple steps are also taken to reduce the energy or increase the efficiency and reduce the energy consumption. That is also coming also from one of the reasons why space cooling or the heat load has to be reduced. So they are all overlapping. Important is not that we get a cool air, but it is important that the gas is charged to its optimum level, so that if it is overcharged or undercharged, both will have problems on cooling and energy, as well as if the leak tightness is not checked, then it can leak. Okay. Then there is the practices usually we tend to ignore and not to confront or admit also, is that flushing is done and the refrigerant is just left in the air. Okay. While the correct practice is recovering that refrigerant. Of course, there are multiple reasons which are being correctly addressed. What are the reasons to that? But a good technician will look at multiple aspects. He will look at leak tightness. He will look at correct charging method. He will not flush it, and of course, he will recover the gas wherever that is required.
Amazing. In fact, this is one thing that we keep promoting even within the RATA, the Association for Entrepreneurs who are in this business. And that is, you can't be making money at the cost of your environment. That's not happening. So there has to be a sustainable business, and you got to be a responsible entrepreneur. So getting into the document, let's take the topic of space cooling. So what does the document talk about in terms of the residential sector? What do you think?
So residential sector, this is the biggest sector. The demand today is, or the number of air conditioners or demand, whatever that, if we take it, it is going to grow about 8 to 10 times within the next 20 years or so. And this is the highest growing demand. Today, if I can recollect correctly, about 40 million, or I would say 4 crores. Yes, 4 crores. Maybe today it will be, now when the document written was 4 crores, but now it will be some 4.5 to 4.75 crore is the population of air conditioners that is sitting. Okay. The current production per annum is around 70 to 75 lakhs, and is going to grow by 10 to 11%. So, but within 20 years, it is going to grow by 8 times, and that will have a huge impact on consumption of refrigerant and consumption of the electricity also, both. And that is why, and that forms, as I said, about approximately, I will just say today, room air conditioners are 42% of the total pie, including the fans and air coolers, where fans are 30%, which is going to go to 52% of the total pie, with fans reducing to 11% and air coolers increasing to 13%. So that is what it is in the study indicates. And so if you look at the space cooling, the focus area will continue to remain in the residential air conditioners. One of the other points it was also observed when we bifurcated the working, that it is not only going to increase in urban areas, but is also going to increase in the rural areas. And that will throw up further challenges of implementing and adopting the technology, and more so on the technicians.
Yes, that's right. And I guess that's the bigger problem everyone's talking about, is you've got the smaller cities which are going to actually have a residential boom, but how are you going to manage them? How are you going to be making sure that the environment and refrigeration needs or maintenance is taken into account?
Correct.
So, sir, also moving in from space cooling from residential, what does the document talk about on the commercial sector, which is also a very large space? Project management companies, everybody's into different.
The growth rate is comparatively low. However, the square feet area is going to completely change. That is there. The growth is also going to be high. The various commercial sectors that were looked at was the package units, which we call as ductable splits, VRF, and large commercial spaces will of course be done through the chillers. And the growth there is about 4 to 6 times that is expected. However, having said so, I'm only hoping that the thought process of this post-COVID-19, if the whole working style changes and one work with the new normal, what we call, how it will impact will have to be really looked into, specifically for the offices. Of course, it is not going to change for, or partially going to change for the brick and mortar stores and showrooms and other things, because a lot of online things will happen. But we'll have to look into it. So roughly it is about the commercial air conditioning demand in 17-18 was roughly about 25 million TR, which 37-38 is going to go to approximately 140. So about 5 to 6 times that is expected.
Yeah. So you said commercial is going to be smaller than the residential, but it is still 5 to 6 times. So in absolute terms, it is still very, very large compared to the market.
Yes.
Awesome. Now here they also speak about components. Now I really wanted to throw some highlight on this, is primarily because we have a lot of our small manufacturers who are getting into component manufacturing. So the document talks about energy efficiency in certain components. So which are the kind of components that are being spoken about?
So we have to understand here that India is expected to follow what Japan followed, Korea followed, and Europe followed. Not necessarily what US followed. And I will try and share some information which is also not there in the document, basically from Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So in 2015-16, the adoption of inverter technology in room AC was somewhere around 5%. Last year it was 55%. And this growth has happened fastest in the world anywhere, from 5% to 55% in about 4 years or so. Japan took then to reaching about 80% of inverter technology. Japan, to best I understand, took 10 to 12 years, and China also took a similar thing. Now, why these technologies are changing? Because it is a regulatory environment which is there by Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Every 2 years to 3 years, we are upgrading and taking to the new level. So 5-star of 2010, when the program started, and because of this pandemic, it has been slightly a different story. Otherwise, that 5-star is not even 1-star today. That is what is going to happen. So with the increase in efficiency, here too also India was the first country in room air conditioners to adopt technology agnostic energy leveling program. So one table both for fixed speed as well as inverter, which is not there still in China. They're now going to adopt it. Now what happened is, the other important part is we should salute the Indian consumers, because they have understood the importance of energy efficiency, and unlike many countries where the minimum energy efficiency product is taken, India buys about 70 to 75% of a 3-star, which is a median, followed by 5-star, which is about 14%, and 1-star is only 2%, while in many countries 1-star is about 40-50%. So this pushed the manufacturers to increase the energy efficiency driven by regulation, and to achieve this and to cater to this market, the components are required. Now, what are these components? These components, of course, as we know, is inverter drive, inverter compressors, brushless DC motors, high efficiency heat exchangers, motors with fan profiles to give maximum airflow per watt consumed, something like that. And the other techniques like the metering devices, what we call technically, which is either expansion wall or capillaries, and the whole enclosure or the fins that we use and other things. the heat exchanger tubes. Tubes are changed from 38 millimeter to 7 millimeter to 5 millimeter. We did try out about also with the what we call as microchannel heat exchangers. So these are the focus areas which are becoming very, very important. My judgment is another 2 to 3 years. Inverters will be around 75 to 80%.
That's right. So that's a lot of components. So for most of our viewers who are actually listening and who are into manufacturing, this is the areas that require innovation, and this is the area that would actually where the government is also pushing for better quality and better energy efficiency. So, before we
under this Atmanirbhar Bharat program, most of you must have read that air conditioning is a focused area, and they want to make India as a manufacturing hub and export hub, because the world also wants China plus one policy to an extent. So they want one alternative, and India, the government is pushing it. They are working on a phased manufacturing program, so that more and more manufacture happens in India. They are looking at providing some incentive. They're taking multiple steps so that the manufacturing happens in India.
Yeah, very important what you said. It reminds me, this is exactly what Mr. Nitin Gadkari said when we had a meeting with him. So as an association, we had a meeting with the MSME minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, and he said very clearly, he said, no, manufacturing to karna hi hai. We have to do manufacturing, but we also need to have a vision of exporting it. Manufacture not just for local, but to be a global player. And that's exactly what he said. So the scope is big. Not only you have a local market, but also look at internationalism. So, Amrita, before we now move ahead, we need to acknowledge some of our people who actually advertise on our webinars. And so 20 seconds, a break, and before which we go into non-refrigerant based cooling.
For us, giving you VarioCool inverter technology and 25 other high-tech features in our AC is not enough. We also give you an extraordinary commitment. Lifetime free service with Cruise. Cruise. For us, giving you VarioCool inverter technology and 25 other high-tech features in our AC is not enough. We also give you an extraordinary commitment. Lifetime free service with Cruise. Cruise.
Okay, welcome back, Mr. Bhambur.
Thank you.
Getting back into space cooling, the document talks about non-refrigerant based coolings. What does it talk about? What kind of products? It says that's going to play a huge role, especially in the two-tier cities where you said the growth is going to be very high.
So again, I'm just going back to some of the figures mentioned. India has got a typical geographical location. We call it as tropical climate, but within that there are 5 climate zones, out of which the cool zone is in the northern India. North means in Kashmir and Sikkim and Arunachal and parts of Himachal. But and of course we all know that coastal is hot and humid. But a large part of India is related. Is hot and dry, right from Rajasthan to central, to Gujarat to parts of Madhya Pradesh, eastern Maharashtra and parts of Andhra Pradesh. And then there is a composite climate, which is complete Gangetic belt. What happens there is you have a dry climate, and the air coolers will definitely give the required amount of comfort. I'm not talking here of a temperature to be achieved, but a comfort. And there is a research happening on adaptive cooling, where it is how human body gets acquainted with the ambient temperatures that are there. So just to explain, if I am in a hot and dry climate and the outside temperature is say 44, 45 degrees Celsius, I will be comfortable at 30, 32 degrees centigrade. While if it is humid and warm and outside temperature like Bombay is say 36, 37, I have to necessarily come down to 24 degrees centigrade. So this is how body adjusts. And the air coolers in multiple ways are going to become popular. One is they consume 1/4 of the cost of electricity. The second one is they cost also very less. So this is one part. The second part is related to fans, which will still continue to dominate a large. If I recollect correctly, there are 500 million, or 500 million means about 50 crore fans. No, not 500 crore fans. Sorry, 500 crore fans that are operational, and they will still continue to dominate. So these are non-refrigerant based cooling. One. The second one will come from the district cooling, where excess heat is available and you do a tri-generation. Third is adaptive cooling, wherein you have a building material which can work on it. But for all practical purpose, I would say that air coolers are expected to become more and more popular. To share with you, report says that if 70 lakhs is the air conditioning production, 40 lakhs is the air cooler production in India. But out of it, nearly 60% is completely unorganized. It is not even the industrial galas that they are manufacturing. And the big players are like Symphony, Bajaj, and those types. So these will be the two basic things which will be non-refrigerant based.
Okay. And what about, it also talks about, other than non-refrigerant based, it also talks about low energy cooling techniques. What's that?
The low energy cooling is also associated with mostly with the air coolers and adaptive cooling, and the other which I said is the tri-generation and the what you call as the district cooling part of it.
Okay, so here's a little deviation from what and this could have an impact from a future, and I would want to take your insight into this. What do you think about district cooling in India? It's not something that is very common in India, but what do you think is the future of district cooling?
So when the new setups will come in, we never thought that there will be a piped gas available 20 years ago. So let us know. There was shortage of cylinders. There was people used to book in advance, and we were in that era. From there, we have come to now piped gas. What is district cooling? District cooling is something which is a piped chilled water, and which circulates to your place. So what I best know is they're running in pilot projects. What I understand is Thane Municipal Corporation has decided to run one pilot project. The aim was, that Amravati, which was the capital of the newly formed state, they had plans to do that. Now, wherever excess heat is available, or wherever you can generate possible heat, which can, which is near, say, the thermal power plants or anywhere where heat is available, the VAMs can be run, and you can have the chilled water available. The other thoughts that are going in is India has got luckily also a lot of sunlight, and whether the heat from the sun can be harvested, not to generate electricity but also to generate hot water, which again can be used as a tri-generator, or it can be used for distribution. Now, how will you implement on the consumer side is you require infrastructure for that. So when new housing complexes will come in, it will become like one of the utilities which is there. So it will take some time, but for sure it will happen. Today, like we don't meter our house for water. Though we meter our electricity, we meter our gas consumption. But sometime it will happen that a common pool will come in and some techniques will come in, but it will happen.
So I'll share a typical problem. Like you spoke about energy efficiency. So where does the energy inefficiency happen? One is the developer is putting in the air conditioning system. The benefit of putting a high energy efficiency system, there is no, because the ROI is not his. The ROI is of the person who's occupying. So he's not motivated to do it. The occupant is unaware of how much energy he's consuming, so he's unknowingly causing harm. The person who's maintaining it is inefficient and does not maintain it properly or is not well educated, so there is a problem. Now if you take all these are all contributing into inefficiency. So do you think cooling as a service using district cooling could actually become, because that could be a better way to provide efficiency and control? You think, is that a possibility that could happen in our market, cooling as a service?
So cooling as a service will happen, but see, frankly, your the approach on thought process is correct, because I am not bothered about whether I have a room AC or a central plant or a ducted system. I am worried. I am wanting is a cool, with air which has got a related, humidity between certain band. And that is my requirement. I frankly, we are saying I'm using air conditioner, but actually what I want is a cool, less humid air. So whether the utility will happen, how it will be taken, frankly, it will depend upon the economics.
Correct.
And who will invest. See, today, if you see, at what time very high-end apartments will come in, and they will invest and have somewhere, or I will put it this way, whether the township which is there will have it to an extent a circular economy, whether they will also give hot water, whether it is not only a question of giving cold air. We also require hot water for bathing and for sanitary use and many things. So whether that will also come in as a utility, and whether these two multiple things can be combined, then it can really become as a service. But standalone, only giving cooling as a service, I'm not very, very sure of it.
Yeah, because what happens in that case is the ownership is only on one person. He owns the machine. Efficiency benefits are also his. Upkeep is also his. Every benefit is there. So that one person, so it automatically kind of fixes the entire inefficiency in the chain. So we were always wondering whether that could be a format which India would actually take.
So I will be, with my background on research and development and product development, I would say research was part of it. There is a very good learning in the whole thing is technologies are developed at a point, but unless and until they get converted into a utility in whatever form, there can be a gap of 20 years also,
Yeah.
and the success of those technologies come in only when the end consumers understands what is it in for him. It is not because the engineers feel that my technology is great. So unless the end customer starts feeling what is in for me, is it convenience? I don't have to bother for the servicing side. I'm not hassled with the breakdowns. I get, as compared to the existing system, my economics is much better. When he gets convinced in all these things, then he will start, pulling it.
Interesting. So you spoke about the various room air conditioner, chiller system, VRF package, fan, chillers, and coolers. So the document also talks about recommended interventions in these products and their inputs. What are these interventions and what are the impacts that is being spoken about?
So the short, there are three parts, like it is 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. So the short-term interventions are available technologies to be upgraded for efficiency, as well as for, of course, the refrigerant changes are not going to happen up to 24. They're going to start happening as per the Kigali agreement later than 24. Actually 26, 27 it will start happening. But the short-term interventions are related to One is of increasing the energy efficiency, which is done through labeling program. More products to be brought under labeling program. The second part is how do we do bulking so that the cost comes down and the demand is created for high efficiency. So EESL is working on it. They've got a success in LEDs, so they want to replicate maybe slightly a minor tweaked model for air conditioners. Then there are interventions which are like 24 degrees centigrade as a default temperature. The study has shown that each degree centigrade increase in a place like Delhi saves power by about 6%. So those are there. Then ECBC doing a study, understanding the various status of the service technicians, studying the profile of the usage of air conditioners, a study to be done of how much they degrade due to poor servicing. So these will be done in 5 years. In 10 years, we'll start looking at implementation of basically, the ECBCR codes or ECBC code in in a full-fledged manner, because they have to come to state level and to urban local bodies, be it a municipality or many other places like that. So these will be the interventions that will be done for increasing the efficiency. Of course, there are multiple other interventions which have been also talked about, which are related to, which will be parallelly done in research, in training the technicians. Maybe I will get it repeated in the service, but one about 100,000, which is 1 lakh trainer technicians will be trained through various ways. That has been taken by skill development program by the government. There is a MOU signed. So multiple of these initiatives will be taken.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And now let's move from air conditioning to more about cold chain and refrigeration. So the document talks a lot about the cold chain and the refrigeration field. So what are the growth drivers for this industry? What the document talks about?
So one is the food security, which is the highest. And what we know, so that is one. The second growth driver, of course, we are caught in a slightly there is today we have got agitations, but doubling the farmers' income is the second growth driver. And to do that, we know that about 25 to 30% of the farm produce gets wasted. And the other one is balancing when there is an extra, crop yield, and at times there is, we all know, tomatoes are thrown on because they are the price they can't get it. Like onions is a very what you call as the a case study which is happening. Every year this story is coming to same. Then the fruits and vegetables. India typically, again, with the climate which we have got, it can become a big exporters of many of these things. But then you have to have end-to-end chain, and these will be the fundamental growth drivers for the cold chain.
Awesome. And what are the areas that is being focused as far as the cold chain and refrigeration is concerned? The typical areas.
If you look at it, I would put it this way, that a cold chain has to start from immediately after the produce is harvested from the farm, gets stored, gets distributed, gets to a retail, and then it comes to us. Okay. Now, wherever there are commercial things like ice cream, like commercially produced products like ice cream or milk, this cold chain is to an extent well established. However, what we call as the pack houses, which are required immediately after the harvesting, the only 9% of the total requirement is today installed capacity. Rest of them is more or less it is it is not there. And the other part is related to the pack house, not the pack, the storages, which we feel that as per the study about 90% is in place, and which is used for storage of basically potatoes in a large scale. Of course, some grains and other things also, but potatoes in a large scale. So we don't find, if you can see that, if then the cold chain is there for potatoes, we don't see fluctuation in prices of potatoes or availability of potatoes not there and other thing of that type. But if you take fruits and vegetables, then we require about the ripening houses or ripening chambers, because when we control the atmosphere, ripening chambers are there. There is a research required for the Indian fruits. Banana is a globally produced product, and we now know that how nice yellow, unstained, properly controlled ripening sweet bananas what we get throughout the year. This is all at the end of the delivery side, which is the supermarket formats where you have got the requirement for storage. It is developed, or the distribution hubs have been developed by these chains like McDonald's or Burger Kings or even Haldirams and other places, or large chain restaurants also, they have developed. So what is really required at the farm level, and that is where the highest amount of wastage today is happening.
But to what extent is the role of availability of power playing in this refrigeration and the cold chain at the farm level? Isn't that also playing a huge dampener?
Yes, it is. So there are, unlike the air conditioning, where the comfort zone is 24 degrees centigrade is okay. The food produce requires different temperature zones. There are negative temperature zones, which are basically for milk, ice cream, and meat at large. And then for vegetables, it is a positive temperature between, say, 2 degrees to 8 degrees. The issue is, how do we reach out to these places? How do we reach out to the interior places? What is the education level? Whether the economics is working there or not? And what are the type of crops that are happening? Whether they will require, what will happen? Whether that utility of that pack houses and storage can be used throughout the year. These are certain deterrents. Apart from power, what I understand is a lot of research happening in solar powered pack houses also, and that is the future. Today's Times of India says that the solar power generation power, the rates have crashed, and there are no takers for it. So that is a difference. So I'm sure that in the future that power will not be a deterrent. It is a education, understanding. I don't want to use the reforms as such, but yes, that is critical.
So the document talks about this cold chain and refrigeration in a very big way. So what, in a nutshell, would be the future of the cold chain and refrigeration, and what are the recommendations that the Cooling Action Plan talks about?
So few are there related to the cooling and maintaining the temperature and the thing, where they're talking of. One of them is what you talked of, the power, which they're talking of. The solar powered pack houses and warehouses is one they're talking. The second, they're talking of also of phase change material which can come in the future. But more importantly is the health of the food, or the whether the temperatures were maintained or not maintained, and in what accuracy they were maintained. So you require a constant monitoring systems. Apart from IoT will play a lot of role, and this will happen across the cold chain. We didn't speak about the reefer trucks. Reefer trucks today are only roughly about 50% of the total requirement of what is needed. And these reefer trucks, again, we'll have to bifurcate between bulk transport from, say, pack houses to the storage, and storage to the distribution hub, and the last what they call last mile delivery. No, whether the vegetables come to a store, what it is. And also, the demand from the customer, because what is understood as fresh and our concept of fresh, our perception of fresh,
Yeah.
is also a very important role that will play. So IoT definitely is going to play a big role, and when that happens, we will understand the freshness of vegetables as bought in Nasik and as bought in same freshness as bought in big cities. Then it will really help. So IoT, high growth, new technology. There are certain futuristic technology which are called as to save the energy, is what they call is liquid nitrogen or liquid air cooling, which becomes a byproduct. I understand when the fuel gas are liquefied, you get a lot of this liquefied air or liquid air that can be used, and temperature monitoring is a future thing which will happen in a cold chain.
That's very interesting.
So,
Actually, yeah, sorry, please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
No. So we were talking about this reefer transport and everything. So I was talking to a friend who is in the agri business, and he's telling, Ajit, what costs 20 rupees here in Mumbai costs 2 rupees in Siliguri. And you know what is the problem? That a truck which comes from there, which is a refrigerated truck which comes from Siliguri to Bombay, has to go back empty. So nobody wants to come, and that's where the big difference is. And this is where that research and planning is actually required. And so that takes us also to the next topic, which is all about transport air conditioning. What does the document talk about the future of this sector, which is not much discussed, not spoken about, but is logistics is very big in terms of refrigeration. What is the future of the transport air conditioning?
Transport air conditioning can be roughly bifurcated, basically maybe into a refrigeration, which is reefer trucks, which you call, and the bus air conditioning and the car. The penetration level in a car air conditioner has gone to a considerable higher levels, and we all know that the transport air conditioning whether the railways, there are more and more attempts made to air condition. I'm sure when the metros come in, there will all be air conditioning, unlike the suburban transport system of the trains. And we know that I don't think anybody wants to buy now cars without air conditioner. So that is what it is. The challenges there are again because a lot of these cars and trucks will likely to get exported, so it has to be aligned with what is happening in the refrigerants that are used internationally also, as what it is. And there is a passenger car segment which is estimated to grow, bus segment which is again growing very fast, and most of the buses, including the state transport buses, are becoming like more air conditioning. And as I talk, trucks. There are a lot of, if the passenger cabin of a truck itself is air conditioned, it will have huge benefits in the distances that they will be able to cover, the reduction in accidents, reduction in fatigue, and many other things.
Amazing. Yeah, that's an industry that's less spoken about, but that's a big emerging. So let's move from here to a very important segment which is very close to our members, and that's all about refrigeration and air conditioning services sector, which is where most of the MSMEs are involved in this whole thing. So what are the recommendations that document talks about in this segment of refrigeration and air conditioning? They say, most of the things that the document talks about pretty much seems to be is going to happen. So in this sector, what are the recommendations that have been made?
So the emphasis. So we all know, or the RATA members know more than definitely me, that there is a classification we can do broadly in three parts. One is commercial products, servicing, room air conditioning servicing, and maybe the refrigeration. Refrigeration slightly requires might be slightly a different approach. The most challenging is room air conditioning. It has got a very limited period of time of 5 months. And what we have also seen is there is a migration that is happening. They are not getting enough remuneration what is for the work they are maybe doing. And it is also because the end customer is also not able to understand what difference it has. He can't see tangible benefits, after the servicing, before the servicing. Now, the recommendations that are basically given is creating and training infrastructure, because what I know or what I understand speaking with different people is every year there is an influx of new technicians which comes in, and then they migrate to either a completely new job or they migrate to limited opportunity they have got in commercial air conditioner. So there is a huge influx that is there. So first and foremost is understanding the requirement of today it is estimated that about 2 lakh technicians are there. What will be the future requirement? It will become important with the growth that is happening again in room air conditioning. What is the training infrastructure that is there? Is the training whatever we are giving aligned with the technology changes that are happening? We spoke about new technologies coming in, electronics becoming a very important part of air conditioning systems, inverter technology becoming a very important part. Is everything aligned with it? Whether the training modules will require a quick change? What are ITIs doing? What is the role of organized industry, and where the training has to be also a part of hands-on also. And few of the study has also shown that recovery of refrigerant, flushing without refrigerant, brazing and flaring, calibration and charging, and leak testing. These are the important things, out of which leak testing is roughly achieved up to a 90% level, because each technician does that, while recovery of refrigerant is the lowest. Obvious reasons that are there, and there are challenges in the maintenance of the equipment and other things. Now, this is at a one level. That the second level, what is told is again use of online training programs, reference available, and use of IoT again, and the smartphones. Most important thing is how do we understand who are the freelance technicians, and how do we bring them in mainstream of training? That is to be addressed. Other important is livelihood and social security. So that he gets a constant income source, and what are required. So these here again there are short-term recommendations, mid-term recommendations, and long-term recommendations. Short-term is understanding the whole thing. Mid-term is ensuring that a certification course, a certified technician only does it. And in long-term is like any other developed countries. Only a certified technician will attend the service calls. Whether we do know that attempts are being made, like that urban clap, they're being of franchisees, and I would say they've done a decent job of training people, availability of people, and other things. And I'm sure that will be the action that will be taken. Creating a pool of data and information, having known inventory of technicians, many of such things will be done in are recommended here.
So do you think a lot of digitization will play a role? Because you spoke about IoT, you spoke about a lot of MSMEs would actually have to digitize to be part of this whole process of refrigeration and air conditioning services.
Why digitalizing is important is because through a digital systems, we can become the upgrades are easily possible. Otherwise, through the textbooks and other things, it becomes to an extent static. And with the technology changing so fast, the knowledge can become obsolete very, very quickly. And that's where mobiles will play a big role with apps.
Yeah. I guess that's where the whole sector is
I'm sure,
moving towards, moving
I'm sure,
paperless and moving.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure something like Baiju will come in, for this thing.
You said it. You said it. It is bound to come. And this whole thing about, and the MSMEs who actually adopt it much better and faster would actually scale up much better. That seems to be pretty much evident. And also in terms of, let's moving into the refrigerants. What do you see the refrigerant demand? Because with so much of growth comes in a lot of refrigerant requirement. And what do you see the scope for indigenous production for refrigerants?
So India luckily has invested in refrigerant manufacturing quite some time back. Actually, India is also a large exporter of refrigerant, be it R22, followed by 134A, followed by 410A, and now R32. And also, few of the manufacturers also have got a licensed manufacturing agreement for HFOs also. So this is on one part. The Indian refrigerant manufacturers also have established R&Ds, and the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, Hyderabad, institute is having a lot of. I have visited that institute personally, and they have got a lot of PhD students working on many chemical fronts, but also refrigerant, and they were successful in developing alternate methodologies of manufacturing of these refrigerants, which have been adopted by a few of the manufacturers. At the same time, we should know that refrigerants is the fundamental thing. It is like a molecule which is there, and it is highly guarded technology through patents and IPRs, that is intellectual property rights. And there will be few challenges, but I'm sure that India will be able to meet those requirements. What is also likely to happen is these are all what we call as synthetic refrigerants. But if you look at the small refrigeration equipment, like what you call as domestic refrigerators, or now the deep freezers which are there, or in future it can happen also in water coolers, or these dispensers, water dispensers, all have migrated more or less to hydrocarbons, which is a natural refrigerant, and which is it is free for all. So multiple things will happen, but the process adopted rightly by ozone cell is, we don't mill of changing refrigerants. That is what is expected to happen. We'll also be looking at what is the requirements coming in the Europe, which is F-gas regulations, what they call as, and they have taken certain targets of average, by 2030, if I recollect correctly, the average GWP consumed by the region will be less than 150. So that will be a path that will be established, and we will be able to work on it.
Amazing. So
we have time, no? We have time.
We have time. We have no. We have time to finish the entire thing. We just to the last 15 minutes. I think we should be able to complete the whole document. The document talks about R&D and innovation. What is the scope for R&D and innovation that is there as far as the cooling action plan goes?
So there are two things. The drivers are two. One driver is the energy efficiency, energy or heat load reduction, which is said in document as reducing the demand, but actually it is heat load reduction. And the third one is the refrigerants. And the India cooling plan, or the labeling programs or energy efficiency program are built around India. Just to give an example, the air conditioner, what we are using today, if the efficiency as measured by India testing protocol is 100, if you test the same air conditioner as per ISO, the International Standards Organization document or protocol or standard, it becomes 20% more efficient. So the numbers cannot be just compared like that. It has to compare with respect to the protocols or the methodology adopted by India. And so it is an India-specific program for all the products. India requires its own specific requirements because of the environment conditions, because not only the environment conditions of ambient temperatures and humidity, but also because dust conditions and many other things. So all these will require research to be done, because products will be India specific. If you are importing a product from other countries and trying to use it here, it may not necessarily work so. Plus, the indigenization program, Atmanirbhar Bharat program, allows you, tells you to do and research of two ways of. And if when the demand will increase, I'm sure that the growth that is happening about say 10-11%, so year over year will be a big demand. 1 crore will be crossed very quickly, which will mean that the supply chain has to be established in India itself. And for which, if it is to be established in India, then the manufacturing has to happen in India. So there will be research happening at a technology level, research happening at a manufacturing technologies. If the compressors to be manufactured in India, those manufacturing technologies also have to be researched in India. And third will be refrigerants, which I have already spoken of. How this research will happen? Of course, if it is 10 years from now, which is the last phase, last leg of the India Action Plan, then there will be futuristic technologies. So multiple research will have to happen. Something has to happen at institute level. Something has to happen at a manufacturing, big manufacturers level, and something has to happen at MSME level. MSMEs will be dependent, and hand-holding will be done by the large manufacturers. But I'm sure that the MSMEs are entrepreneurs, and that entrepreneur spirit itself will push you to do something different. So this is one part of it. The other part, what it is talking of innovation, is how do we bring in synergy in all these things, institutes, MSMEs, and this thing. And government is working whether we should create some, whether they should have some centralized bodies who will develop the technologies and can be distributed. So again, like a manufacturer develops a technology, he can protect it through patents and other things. So instead of that, can it be open to patents and other thing? And whether a hub should be created. And of course, this Atmanirbhar program and phase manufacturing program, though it was not a part of documented part of ICAP, but I think somewhere government had it in mind that in future we'll have to do. So this is how the innovation will happen. Few future things are required is how do we create a pool of engineers who will be able to, who will be attracted to HVAC industry and who will work on various options, including standards. India standards, the BIS India specific standards will have to be developed, and there is not enough skill available today in those areas.
Awesome. So that's one hell of a document, and we've actually need to just summarize the whole thing. So just quickly to summarize from the growth opportunities, I have a few questions on the summarization. Is who's supposed to implement all these things? Because we spoke about a huge demand. We're not talking about 20%, 30%, 6 times and 8 times and the rest. It's huge over the next 2 decades. And there are so many people, stakeholders and everything. So what are the action points and who will implement?
So the implementation will be happening. One is through the regulatory thing. From the energy efficiency perspective point of view, BE will be the implementing agency. So it will regulate, and it will then demand or push the manufacturers to work on energy efficiency side of it. The Skill Development Ministry has already rolled out a program skilling the technician. They will be taking help of maybe other institutes or other associations. Plus, they will be also be working with the ITIs, and I'm sure they'll be working on this, non-classroom like training. I attended one of the meetings with Ministry of Housing, and they were saying if ECBCR has to be implemented, then let us arrive at some that heat load should be some of a simple to understand numbers, which will be implementable at say a gram panchayat level or a municipality level. Those engineers or the town planners have to understand. They're also planning to rope in the architects, because they will be making a huge impact on whatever it is to be done. The regulations related to refrigerant will be driven by the international, as India is a signatory, so it will get automatically implemented. Pack houses and other things, of course, government has got a program of doubling farmers' income. They have got multiple refrigeration. I think they got a nodal agency which is trying to look at the cold chain development, and they have got a Ministry of Agriculture is looking into it. And of course, the industry will play a big role. I'm sure the MSMEs also will have to play a role in doing the whole thing. But government is aware of it. And they are going to form a high-level steering committee, which will be cross-cutting across various ministries, so that the barriers may not be there, and harmonized, synchronized activity will happen.
One last question, sir, before we wind up. What has been implemented till now, and where do you see the challenges in this whole plan?
So the room air conditioning program, which was an ongoing program, has been taken to the next level. For example, the 3-star efficiency is going to go up by 10%. 5-star is going to go up by more than 15%. So that is the room air conditioning. The chiller program is rolled out, and it is in a voluntary phase. 1st January 2022, it is going to become mandatory. Deep freezer program is rolled out. Again, 1st January 2022, it is going to be mandatory. Package air conditioner program, the study has begun. Collection of data has been happening. I'm sure they are going to roll it out quickly. VRF standards are not available, and standards are getting formed. I'm sure that will come in the picture. 24 degrees centigrade in air conditioning is become as a mandatory default temperature. I'm sure they are going to become in near future. They will revisit and make it maybe as a 22 or 23. They will make it as a, you can't go below that in the settings. Then again, the technicians program, which is the most important, is being addressed through skill development program. And again, the air conditioning is, I think, coming under electronic training program. So they are working on it. Institutes, they will approach the institute for developing new refrigerants, as well as developing the new technologies. And the research, R&D ministry, what they got a separate different name, but it is related to R&D. They will be mostly likely to fund some of the programs related to pilot projects and other things. So this is the overall, the plan. What the basic driver is, I think, what the government committed in the Paris Agreement, that they will, that commitment towards, I think, 33% renewable energy, 30%, I think, some amount of forestation, and increasing the efficiency by 30% by 2030. The good news is, which came again about 8 days ago in the newspaper, that India is the country which is, if you take 2022 as one of the milestones to achieve, it is ahead of what it had committed. So that is a good news. But many countries, as we know, without taking names, is they've slightly gone back on what they had committed.
Awesome. So this has been fabulous, actually. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhambureji. I mean, this is an opportunity where we are telling all our members, all the entrepreneurs who are in this business, if you haven't had time to read that document, this 1.5 hour discussion is available. Use this video, use the knowledge which Mr. Bhambure has actually shared with all of us. Discuss it with your team members, discuss it, and use the pandemic as a reset button. Don't use it, don't let it demotivate any of us. We're going to use this as a reset button, and let's relook at how we should build our business, not just for post pandemic, but over the next 20 years. So thank you so much, Mr. Bhambure, for joining us. It's been fantastic, and I'm sure this video is going to be watched by everyone in our industry, because this is something that gives direction for the next 20 years. Thank you so much for your time and taking time out and coming and explaining to us.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to come on this platform. And I should say, I have been giving a presentation in various forums, including various history chapter. But I should thank you for taking it to the next level and taking it to a completely on a different platform. Again, I would like to thank Rata to create this platform, and I would humbly request that we should not stop only here, but take it to next level, and we should the whole thing is to reach to the person and to the doorsteps of MSMEs in whatever form, be it digital or in person, or many such programs. Maybe focus programs. We can do it for refrigeration, focus programs for air conditioning. Again, that center plans differently, and this thing, and maybe create certain ideas which actually also you had initiated, how to work together between regulatory bodies, large industries, and then you had written. I'd seen your a few mails which you had written. So once again, thank you very much, and it gives me pleasure to help in whatever form, because I strongly believe that writing a document is the starting point, but going through it and the journey is not ended with the writing a document, but it really starts with the writing of the document. So thank you very much to all Rata members and Ajit, you in person.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhambure. It's fabulous. This is an important discussion, and this will continue, and this becomes the basis of what MSME's future is. So stay safe, use this as a reset, the pandemic, and let's grow together. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being with us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Bhambure.
Thank you very much.